Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@usaprepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
There we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. Broadcasting 2 hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 11 a.m. Central Time. And there's a link to your instructors on the website, usaprepares.com. Telephone call-in number, if you'd like to call us, 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. And I've contacted Zeno Radio. And those are the people who bring to you the telephone listen line, which has been stuck on replay for about a week now. And I contacted them, and hopefully they'll have a chance to fix it today. And that telephone listen line, 605-477-3249. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us this morning. Welcome, Rick.
Good morning, Vincent. Good morning. Yeah, I don't know how to wind up a pitch like you do, but I sure like working with you.
Well, I love working with you too, Rick. Hey, I was telling Patrick, our engineer, about a video series. I try not to watch very much television. We do not have over-the-air television, so we don't have satellite, we don't have cable. And if we want to watch something, it's because we want to specifically watch it. And sometimes it's delivered via Netflix or it's a DVD that we borrow or something like that, or we buy after it's been around the block many times at the used DVD store. But we're interested in science, we're interested in history, and we're interested in future science, future science and history, which would be called science fiction. And those are the things that primarily we watch. And one of the videos that we were watching is called Zoo, Z-O-O. And the premise is very interesting, and I haven't watched enough of it to fully understand what the series is about. But the main takeaway is, animals seem to be dominated by humans right now. So, for example, my dog, Thomas Jefferson, is a large dog, an English Mastiff, and he likes his hugs, and he comes over and he leans on me, and if I'm sitting down, he will sit right next to me. If I'm doing something on the farm near the house, he's following me everywhere I go. If I'm working on the solar array, he's lying down, watching, protecting me. So he's there. And the other dogs are there too. And the cats are there. And so it's like a family adventure. Now, what would happen if all of a sudden these animals decided that, you know what, they've had it with us, and they're tired of watching and protecting and being dominated, and they decide that we look like food. And what would happen? And top to bottom, let's say we look like food to every animal, how we would survive. And the answer is, I don't think we can survive if that were the case. And I was telling Patrick that when I'm working the cattle, I'm out in the field with the cows, and there's 100, 150 cows, in the field all around me. And I'm the curiosity because, they see me all the time and they recognize me as, a guy who lives on the same farm that they do. Everything's good, but they don't trample me. But they could. They could at an instant. They could all decide, you know what, let's just run that guy over. And I wouldn't have a chance. They could outrun me. They weigh way more than I do. And they could kill me very quickly. Well, what would happen if the animal kingdom decided that they'd had it with us? That's an interesting thought. What would happen if there's a mutation? What would happen if this genetically modified food that we've been served up via Roy Blunt and Monsanto, what would happen if that turned the animals against us, the bees, the lizards, the snakes, the rats, the other rodents, the rabbits, the squirrels, the birds, and then just work on up in size, the dogs, the cats, the badgers, the fox, the coyotes. What would happen if they turned against us? I think they could wipe us out within a couple years. I mean, like 2 years. What do you think, Rick?
Well, what we need is some more science fiction. You know, the birds come to mind with Tippi Hedren, and you're welcome. But
Alfred Hitchcock.
You said you're interested in science, and
Yeah.
I have made an observation that physics, science, is the opposite of religion and is no more correct than religion. And it's a closed system, like a cavitation ball. And well, I'm going to explore this one moment with you because you're going to see where I'm going to try to go with it, and then you'll get the big picture. That everything starts with imagination. Science fiction. That's where it all begins, or religion. You have, somebody has an idea. They express the idea, Zombieland, and there it is. All of a sudden, rabies. The animals are attacking everything. Now, I watched Star Trek do their, 3D printer before it was even conceptualized. You see it, science, I belong to a inner lodge, which is personal pathworking. That means that lodge, which is an inner lodge, is for personal development. It's not to try to do anything external, just trying to make myself more pure like an alchemist. And guess what its motto is? It is the method of science with the aim of religion. And that is what pathworking is about. Balancing your two brains. And the universe that we're constructing now with all the weird things that are going on. A friend told me, oh, yeah, the owners of Earth are, where all the missing money is, they're coming to pick up the rent. We're just visitors here. And epochs as a metaphor. And what happened to Mars? And what's that Van Allen belt thing? And I am left with knowing that I don't know and probably will never know. I'm in the middle of writing right now. I love writing. Oh, by the way, I just need to do this. It's really important. Hello, Grace Thorne. We miss you here in Grants Pass. She came for 2 weeks, spent 6 weeks, went home, and now we're trying to get her back. She makes everything here move better. I don't know why. She does. She helps Julie. She helps me. She's happier here, I think. And so I'm going to try to make enough money that I can finally think about buying my home for the first time. I love this home, and for sure it's going to go up on the market if I don't make an offer. And I have no money to make an offer. I'm destitute. However, I have realized my imagination is what's creating all of this, and so I'm practicing what I've tried to preach. And stay tuned on how this all works. I think I'm going to be able to change the movie, Millenniums. You and I were talking about Millenniums, and it's a tragedy. And if I have anything to do, part of my get out of jail is going to be around children. And I think that is our most valuable natural resource, our children. And there are total generations that are taken out because of the creepy music that they did with rap and gangsta. And now I wouldn't want to be a millennium. What do you think they're going to do for a career in fast food management? It's nuts. And the whole thing, we have something good like in Oregon going on. Here we have the marijuana, and now guess what? The big boys are stepping in and making rules to cut out smaller growths. And it's unbelievable. We have a county here where I live that is no GMOs allowed, and they're encroaching. Monsanto is not even welcome in Europe, and people are finally getting that part of it. But do you think that's going to stop anything? Agenda 21? Do you think they outthought us? Before we woke up, they passed the law. Your tax thing that you're doing with the state is Exhibit A. And I know there's going to be an accountability with the military gearing up right now for something creepy. They're at DEFCON 3 right this moment. Why? I don't know. But they are.
You've raised a lot of questions, and as far as the young,
none of them have answers, Vincent. That's the bad news.
As far as the young people, as far as the young people are concerned, I feel terrible about what we have allowed to happen. For example, I've mentioned this many times that I had a customer and a friend who owned a machine shop. And the young people would come and they'd want a job. They thought, well, I can go work at the machine shop. Doesn't seem like it might be a lot of fun, but at least I get some money. Well, they'd go there, and the boss, the owner, would pull out a 6-inch ruler and ask them to show him 1 inch in 30 seconds. Where is that on this ruler? And they couldn't do it. And now right down the road is the high school. The high school is right down the road from this machine shop, literally walking distance. And yet the high school was not preparing a lot of students for work. Now, it used to be, back in the 1960s and the 1970s, that a young guy might quit high school early and go to work at the factory down the road. Now, it wasn't advised. It was thought that, well, maybe he could do better, earn more, learn more, that kind of thing, and have a better life if he stayed in school. I mean, that was the premise. But a lot of guys would just quit high school early and get that job at the factory. They had skills back then. They could estimate. They could find that 1 in 30 seconds on the ruler. Today, no. Why? Because we've allowed our schools to deteriorate to the point where we're not teaching very much that's important. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with Rick. I just did a simple conversion during the break, and I converted 1 gallon of gasoline to kilowatt hours. And I looked it up on the internet, and so 1 gallon of automotive gasoline is about 36 kilowatt hours of electricity. I thought that was pretty interesting. The reason I did that was I was thinking about this car that I was next to yesterday. I was next to a Tesla, and my son and I were in my vehicle, and this Tesla looked really pretty sporty and pretty racy. And I turned to my son and I said, we could race that Tesla, and I'll bet you if we raced from here to Kansas City, Missouri, we would win, because that Tesla wouldn't be able to make it that far. And, because of it run out of electricity. Well, so that made me think about how much electricity equivalent is there in a gallon of gasoline? About 36 kilowatt hours. So here's why I'm doing this. I've got this solar panel array that we just built, and it is about a little over 45 feet long, about 13 feet tall. So it's fairly large, for a home. And I'm expecting that I could get about 36 kilowatt hours out of that on a nice sunny day. Now, what I'm saying is, with that big of an array aimed at the right direction, I would get enough electricity to equal 1 gallon of gasoline. Now, if we extend that, what that tells me is that we do not have a grid that is of sufficient capacity to power a conversion of all the vehicles that are gasoline powered and diesel powered, like cars and light trucks, with solar panels. And the grid isn't capable of supporting charging all those vehicles as well. So I think we are being lulled into a false sense of security that, hey, there's an answer here. All we need to do is get everybody off gasoline and diesel and put them onto electric cars. I don't think it's going to work. You have any comments on that?
Well, yeah, I don't think that electricity is the direction we want to be going for power anyway. So there's that part of questions. Solar panels are becoming more efficient every day. They've got these new LEDs that are so efficient that they last forever. They don't wear out like a light bulb, because 90% of the heat is lost power is lost just in the heating of the damn thing. And water has always, for me, held a fascination. And I look at the leading edge of a wave surfing with Hawaii 5-0. I was watching Hawaii 5-0, and I'm watching the waves when they're surfing. And I said, there's cold fusion right there. And just using the movement of celestial bodies, like the moon around the earth, forming tides, and have a buoy going up and down. Nova Scotia has a 60-foot swing every day in the tides up in the north end of that island. And that's enough power to power the entire eastern seaboard with all their different nuclear reactors. Just single buoys running the grid down. Now, I wondered why we went this way over that way. And it was because of weapons first, and then money.
Yes.
Edison. Well, I have to tell you, there's lots of different ways to do it. When I was in grad school, I watched a fork in the road happen with computers. At that time, the computers we had were relays working with and or systems, this way or that way. And that was a monolithic circuit, and Corning had developed fluidic devices with chips stacked with Schmidt triggers that were impervious to gamma rays in outer space. It's a superior system. They were smaller, and they went NOR-NAND logic, which is object-oriented, and took 15 megs and 15 files down to half a meg, $3. Now, we decided to go in solid-state physics. Why?
Yeah, and what happened to Corning? I remember I used to love to go to Corning.
Yeah,
to
Corning was
museum.
hot, like Sandia.
Yeah. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with his class. If you'd like to go to his Facebook page, docram.com, DOCRAM.com. And if you'd like to go to his website, richardallenmiller.com, Richard, A-L-A-N, Miller.com. Rick, we were talking about Corning. Now, Corning was a big deal back in the 70s, as I remember it, and I remember going to their
60s.
factory in New York.
60s, yeah.
Well, 60s. And even in the 70s, I remember going to their factory and in New York State, and it was really neat. And it seemed like they were on the cutting edge of a lot of things. And let me just give you one simple example, and that is they came out with some cookware. And, we would heat things but in metal pans, but as microwave ovens started becoming more and more popular, they came out with a bowl with a little handle on it called a Grab-It, Grabit, and you could put this bowl in the microwave oven, heat your soup up in it, and then you could pick it up by this little single handle, the Grab-It handle, and that would not be hot, but the bowl and the soup would be. So, for those that are heating in microwave ovens, it was a real boon. Well, that was just one simple thing that Corning did. They did a lot with optics and telescope lenses and so forth. And I think at the time they made the largest telescope lens ever at Corning. And it was a real achievement. But what happened? Where'd they go? What happened to Corning? You don't hear anything about them anymore.
Well, that's because somebody stole all of Tesla's hats. I'm kidding. It's a competitive world, and it's okay to have options in technology. I prefer that, and I wished we had developed both kinds of computers, because you can't take a normal computer into space. Speaking of which, Elon Musk is planning a trip to Mars, and I am still adamant by stating even in 4 days in space, rather than 4 weeks or 4 months, they're going to be toast. And studies recent studies with rats, nothing survives because of gamma rays. That's the problem with space, and that's the problem with electricity in space using solid-state physics. It has what we call color centers or lattice defects. And that's where your checksum error thing falls apart when your body comes apart, being hit by gamma rays. Now, I don't get it, because they're all souped up about going to Mars now quick in a photon rocket, or whatever they call these things. And good luck with that.
All right, so let me see if I understand what you're saying, Rick. I believe I do. You're saying that if we were to take the current technologies that we have, like in a cell phone, like in a computer, like in these computerized devices that we use now with silicon integrated circuits and chips,
they will not survive more than a week or two in space. The gamma rays cause lattice defects, and your chip starts to have color centers and defects in summing up information.
Okay, and we don't even have to go to space, outer space, or even inner space to figure this out. We'll just go to Fukushima and build a little robot and see how long it lasts with the gamma radiation.
That's a pretty straightforward thing. Imagine going down into galactic center. What kind of life form lives there? Probably black goo. We find everywhere in Fukushima and Chernobyl. It's creepy. I think we're being terraformed right in front of our eyes. I'm kidding. I just have concern about what's going on, and I'm appalled at the fact that I'm going to name some names. Carnegie Mellon came out with 36 peer-reviewed scientists saying that chemtrails was contrails.
Are you serious?
That is why science is getting a bad name. There's
36
no
scientists.
Anymore.
36 scientists sold out their reputation.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Okay. 34 scientists sold out their reputation.
Chemtrails are just contrails. They said it publicly in a document. What the? How can they do that? It's appalling. And as a scientist, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for them.
Sure. Well, Norm Shealy talks about that in medicine. There's...
Yeah, the opiate problem, you bet. That's the whole thing. Gave the license to doctors to make money. And the difference is, I remember when a doctor gave you your 10 o'clock appointment, and you went in at 10 o'clock. Today, you go in at 10 o'clock, and you're lucky to get in at 10:40, and he gives you only 10 minutes because he's seeing 6 people an hour. How's that work? It's a game.
Yeah,
It's wrong.
I got fired.
Yeah, medicine is in shambles.
I got fired by a doctor. Can you imagine a doctor firing a patient? It happened to me.
It wasn't when I first moved here. And I went out and picked a Seventh-day Adventist. I wanted a brand new doctor out of grad school, and he'd done his intern, and he was a Seventh-day Adventist, so on the scripts. And that particular individual wanted to send me to Portland for ketamine injections because he couldn't figure out what was wrong with my jaw. I ended up going to a chiropractor. He discovered something that even the military didn't know, that I had a broken neck when I was 4 years old. My neck got broken by my real father when he was attacking my mother. And I went in to defend her. The guy nearly killed me. And I have scar tissue, there it is, and why I had these problems. And this, my doctor, Seventh Day Adventist, was going to put me on ketamine. Reinhardt Institute. At least they closed that part down, and it's now outlawed. But you know what? That's what they do with opiates. It's a recurring cash register. You have to continue to do it. That means, and you have to go in every so often, so you get a visit as well to renew your subscriptions. Wrong. I remember my father's doctor coming to dinner. What happened to medicine?
I went to see a doctor when I lived in Virginia. I'd bring my dad in, and there was a sign on the wall that said, if you're late, there's a fee. If you miss your appointment, there's a fee. So I took a mental note of that, and I had an appointment with this particular doctor to see me on a Monday, first appointment of the day, and I showed up on time, and there was a little bit of light dusting of snow. Just light. I mean, nothing to speak of. And nothing that would impede travel in any respect. And I waited in the parking lot and waited, and no one showed up. So I called, no answer. Next day I called, and they said, well, we closed because of the snow. And I said, well, no one called me to tell me that my appointment was canceled. And they said, well, we didn't do that. We made an announcement, I guess, on some other form of media, but they didn't call to let me know. So I sent him a bill for the $25 that he would charge a patient for a missed appointment, because I figured I was there, and he wasn't, and he didn't notify me. And he was so outraged that I sent him a bill for $25 for him missing my appointment that he fired me. So that's okay, because he was a crappy doctor anyway. I mean, he really didn't know what he was doing. As a matter of fact, he was one of these young guys right out of medical school, and what he had to do was he had to read. He would talk to a patient, and then he'd pull out this little cheat notebook and a cheat sheet of printed notebook to figure out what the symptoms were, so he could say, well, let's see, you have, here it is. And then he would pronounce the diagnosis, and that's what this guy did. So it was a really good thing that he was late for that appointment, so that I could fire him, and he could fire me. But anyway, that's what happened. So Rick, I was thinking about humanity, and I was thinking about dependency on others. And it seems to me that we cannot get along in the current times without being almost fully dependent, if not fully dependent, on other people. People we don't even know, to survive. And what I'm talking about is, for example, food. How many of us grow our own food? Okay, bring us to the winter. How many of us grow our own food? Virtually nobody. Okay, so for food, we are dependent on people we don't know. For water, we're dependent on whoever works at the water plant, putting the chemicals in and making sure the pumps are running and so forth. We're dependent on them. We're dependent on the power grid to run the pumps that pump water up into the water column, the water towers in our neck of the woods, so that we can have water pressure so that we can survive, another day. So we've got food, water, then we have heat, we've got shelter, we've got energy, we've got jobs, we've got hospitals. I can imagine surviving in today's society for most of us without being dependent fully on people we don't even know. And I think that is really disconcerting. Your thoughts?
Well, that's the problem with just-in-time services with food and other kinds of utilities. In New York City, if the grid goes down, what do you think is going to happen to someone living in an apartment 17 floors up has to go to the toilet? How's that going to work?
Well, it's a lot better. Well, it will work for a while until the guys 40 floors up start flushing their toilets, and then it'll end up in the 17th floor. But the guys on the first floor, man, they get to find out what it's like first.
It's going to be creepy like...
Class, I've got an announcement for you. Today at 3 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time, I will be Dr. Bill Deagle's guest on his broadcast right here on GCN. And so I'm going to be in the hot seat. So if you want to give us a call and put Vinny to task about preparedness, you're certainly welcome to do that. And that's during Dr. Bill Deagle's broadcast at 3 p.m. today on GCN. I was very kind of him to invite me. I have no idea why he did, but he did. Anyway, Rick, we were talking about our dependency on others. And I don't feel all that comfortable being dependent on other people, because I kind of feel that most people today are mercenaries, meaning they'll do it, whatever it is, as long as they get paid for it. And if they stop getting paid for it, they won't do it anymore. There's no altruistic motives, if you will, for people to do things, or most people to do things. So, for example, the store shelves get stocked because mercenaries are paid to stock the shelves. If they stop getting paid, they won't show up for work. And I think that as society deteriorates, it's going to be tougher and tougher for us who are dependent on others for all the things that we need. I think it's getting worse. I don't think it's getting better. I don't think people just show up and say, you know what, the grid's down, but let me walk into work anyway and, make the best of this terrible situation. I just think they'll say, well, I didn't get a call from the boss, so I'm not going in. Do you think
that's the difference between being salaried and paid by the hour.
Yeah. So how do we? Do you think humanity is spiraling down the drain? I do.
Well, parts of us are, yeah, or they're not human. I don't know. It's walking or talking, and actually, everybody's going to have to do it. That's the way it works. Whether you want to do it now or you want to do it next time around, It's got to happen for the whole thing to happen. And I'm getting impatient because I want to go home. Oh, well, that's the way I see it. Man up.
Whatever. When you say you want to go home, do you mean you want to go back to the night?
Reality of real life where we're all the same, not here, which is an illusion. I'm writing right now about lucid dreaming. You know that certain dreams have absolutely more reality than consciousness does. Now, how does that work?
I'm really glad you mentioned that, Rick, because
really, this is people are losing perspective on what it's all about here and why we're here. And it's not about money, trust me, and wealth, quality of life cannot be measured by materialistic goals, and money changes everything. I love Cyndi Lauper. But doesn't work that way. Can't buy yourself into heaven. And Mrs. Robinson, God's got a special place for her.
I'm glad you mentioned this, because for months now I've been having these very lucid dreams.
Yeah. Write them down in a diary. This is part of magical working. Once you start doing that, what happens next is you take control of your destiny. That is exactly how it works. It's dreams. That's why Hopi and other primitive tribes see it as more real.
Well, these dreams, Rick, I don't know what they are. I really don't. When the second I wake up, I realize that they are disjointed. They are of scenarios that I have never imagined before. Never would I have put all these components together in one timeline. And yet, when I wake up, I am absolutely, positively worn out, exhausted from whatever I was doing. It was more than I could endure. And I guess I forced myself to wake up just before I end up killing myself from doing whatever I thought I was doing. That's what these dreams are like. It's like being in the ocean, I guess, and swimming to shore, and the shore is just over there, but you never get there. I mean, that's the equivalent of what I'm talking about. Exhausted, beyond exhausted, trying to get there, and it's not reachable. That's what I'm talking about. Let's talk more about that when we come back. Everyone all set? Cocked, locked? Hour number 2 of USA Prepares with Dr. Richard Allen Miller. We were talking about dreams during the last segment of the previous hour. And I mentioned to Dr. Richard Allen Miller that I have these vibrant dreams, these disjointed dreams where pieces that I've never thought about working together are all brought together in the same dream. And when I have these dreams, they are in vivid color. I am there. I am participating, and I actually have to wake myself up because I get the feeling that if I stay any longer in this dream, I'm going to die from exertion or mental exhaustion, whatever it is that is happening to me. I am absolutely worn out by whatever I'm thinking, and I don't think it's quite like a dog. You know, when I see my dog TJ, Thomas Jefferson, and he's dreaming, his feet are kind of going, and he's running, he's sideways, he's, asleep on his side, but he's running, and he's twitching. I don't think it's like that. But mentally, I am there, and sometimes I'm in survival mode, and I'm trying to survive this terrible situation that I'm in, and I described it as like, and it's not this, but it's exhausting like this, being in the ocean and swimming to shore, and the shore, it's right there. It's right there. You can see it, and all you have to do is get to it, but you are beyond exhausted at that point, but yet you keep on, and you keep on, and you keep on swimming, and the currents are bringing you down, and it's tiring. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, Rick. But and I can't remember the darn things.
So you can, and it takes exercise, and like any other thing, like you want to remember short-term memory, and you want to improve your short-term memory, you repeat things until you start catching on how to do mnemonics and remember short-term memory. It'll happen. You have to be active about it because it's a habit. And dreams are the same way, and there are different kinds of dreams. And when Yahudi is kicking his leg and Thomas Jefferson, he's in REM sleep. That's different than lucid dreaming, which is a deeper state of dream. And it turns out that those states there's things going on there that, like a couple nights ago, my girlfriend Julie had a nightmare. And it didn't make sense because it's not about things. It's about how you feel about something. Her foot was stuck, and she couldn't move her foot, and she started to get angry, and then she started to panic. And that's when I woke her because she was crying. And when she cries, you have no idea what it does to me. It woke me up, and I just was apart at the seams. The thing is, we are all of us going in and out of altered states all day long, and especially at night, with different kinds of dreams, daydreaming, void face, slack, drugs, whatever. Those places are places in a different universe with different laws. And an ant, when it's in group consciousness working with a bunch of other ants, literally pick up 10 times its weight. Just does it. And
Rick,
you can do if you knew how to channel and focus and hold that state of consciousness. I've seen people on methamphetamine that have the strength of 5 people. How does that work? Where does it come from?
Are you saying that Julie had a dream, and the dream was her foot was stuck, and it was really terrifying to her? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and she started to cry and get panicky because they wouldn't let her go.
Okay, that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. When I say dreams, maybe I mean nightmares. And
nightmares.
And it would be,
and they occur with other dreams, and really they're about things like, okay, her ankles are starting to swell because she has too much salt in her diet. And this is the way your subconscious is talking to consciousness. And you need a type of Rosetta Stone, a way of translating, and that is honest journaling. What happens is when you start to do shorthand, dictation, whatever, you have little mnemonics you use and the way you talk to each other with abbreviation, and that's what I'm talking about. And you're already doing it. You just haven't been paying attention. And what you need to do, because once you start to listen to these dreams and other altered states, a pattern happens. And now, okay, for example, when you have 6 things in front of you, and all of a sudden you say, that one right there, that one right there, that's somehow important. That's a future timeline talking to your moment. And if you listen to that correctly, it changes your past. You have just moved to a different or changed the rules of engagement with your universe. And that's the first stage on how to change the movie.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is there a link between this and our animals? Let me describe this.
Yes.
Okay, let me describe this scenario.
Closer to spirit. They think with their gut. They're, feed me, mama. That's the dog, man. You want to get a dog's attention? Mention food. And that, they perk up immediately. That spirit, your gut is the way your future talks to you. It's a habitat. It's a hierarchy of organisms. Mold, yeast, bats, viruses, whatever. Creepy. H. pylori, little hydras, worms, whatever. They are a habitat. And they have a relationship from one universe to the other. And that's what triggers your second brain, the one you normally call the mind. And that brain is there to make all your beliefs true. That's how magic works.
All right, let me give you an example. So, sometime during the day, either Mrs. Finelli or I will say, okay, who wants to go for a walk? Now, we'll say that outside, and the dogs will hear that, and the cats will hear that. Now, what happens next is wherever we are, let's say we're by the garage, and we say, and there's no dogs or cats near us. Okay, who wants to go for a walk? They all come running. They literally come running. They're all excited.
And they know, man. They know. And you want to know something really weird? Did you know that the dogs have a better communication system with their eyes than any other animal? They can, with their eyes, pretty much get anything they want. They do. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's what happens.
The look. They've got it down. And they subtle. It's very subtle, like neurolinguistics.
Well, here's what happens. So they all come running to where we are. I mean, literally, they stop whatever they're doing, and they come running because they want to go for a walk. Now, I've never seen this before in my entire life, where the dogs, like 3 dogs, and a cat will all go for a walk simultaneously. Now, the dogs are just, kind of walking. The cat's kind of got to go a little faster, to keep up. But the cat will go for a walk, too. Now, how is it that the cat knows that let's go for a walk, or who wants to go for a walk means? How is that possible? Well,
they words, just like you do when dog barks at you. You got the different kind of barks and what it means.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens.
There's a form of communication going on that's nonverbal also. The pheromone and movement, just like tail wagging. The dog's tail moving this way means that, and going that way, around in circle, means something else entirely.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what happens. Now, right this very moment, we have a cat, a black cat, and we couldn't decide on his name. One of us wanted to name him Inky, one of us wanted to name him Joel, and one of us said, well, he's a new kitty. So his name is officially Inky Joel New Kitty. Well, Inky Joel New Kitty is right outside the studio door. Now, I'm in a room in the farmhouse that has French doors, okay? Inky Joel New Kitty is leaning against the studio door. Now, it's not a comfortable spot. There are plenty of softer spots. There are plenty of spots in the sun. He's not in the sun. He's not in the cold. It's not really the most comfortable place, but he wants to be there. And he has a habit of eating through, he just bites wires. So I can't let him in the studio because at a moment's notice, he'll just chew through some cord, and I'll probably get disconnected because I've replaced a lot of cords in here. Yeah, so I can't. So he's not in this. I won't let him in the studio when I'm on the air. But so he wants to be near me. Now here's the whole point. What I'm noticing with our animals, and I'm talking about our domestic animals, they want to be very close to us. For example, if I were to sit on the sofa, TJ, our English Mastiff, will nuzzle right up against me. He'll put his head on my lap. He'll put his paw on my lap, and he'll say like, "Hey, it's time for a hug." If I sit at the computer, he's right next to me. If I'm outside working, he's right next to me. But so are the other dogs. Something has happened, Rick, where the animals, the domestic animals, do not want to be very far from us. And if I leave, let's say I'm going to Springfield.
Hello? Hello? I think we are disconnected.
No, let's see.
Okay, good.
Okay. Are you back?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, okay.
I hear you.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I see that we have some red bars on the screen. So, yep, we got disconnected for a couple seconds.
Again, didn't it?
Yeah. So what happens is if we're going to leave the farmhouse for a couple hours, Thomas Jefferson, I tell him, okay, you're in charge of security, and he kind of, yeah, okay, I got it, but he's not all happy about it. He miss us. Something has happened. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. Richard, ALAN Miller.com. And you can go to his Facebook page, Doc Ram, DOCRAM.com. So, Rick, what do you think it is with these animals? Let me give you another example. So, let's say I'm asleep at night, and a cat will want to sleep on top of my legs. That plus they want to follow us, they want to be with us, the cats and the dogs. What do they know something? Can they sense something? Do they know that we're at DEFCON 3? Is that what this is? What is it?
The need, like a child needs comforting sometimes because it's insecure. Something may be going on. You don't want to read too much into that and go hokey pokey on me, but keep your eyes open. They may or not know something. They're like children, and they sometimes just need reassurance and want the comfort of knowing you're there. And then pretty soon they don't give a darn. They walk away and poof, whatever. Animals are much closer to spirit than we are. And right now, they can sense your illness, they can sense your nervousness and other related maladies, and it does affect them. And they're probably keeping an eye on you, make sure you're going to be okay. You can tell by your smell. I don't know how that works, but animals have ESP. I wrote a whole section in my ESP book about animals, telepathic. They know when you're going to drive up. They just do. And if you're going to be late, they just know it. I have no idea how that works.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Except I'm a dog. Sometimes that's what I don't know. I think with my stomach.
Decided to take a nap, and I just lie down on the sofa for, let's say, a half hour, and let's say it's during the day. Well, Thomas Jefferson will come right up to me. All of a sudden, he'll decide that, let me check on Dad and see how he's doing, and he'll put his face right against my face, all that slobber and everything. Yeah, but he will smell me, and I didn't know if he was checking to say, is that really Dad or is Dad okay? And I think you're right. I think he's checking to see if I'm okay. Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
They
okay, so they do have this. Mm-hmm.
They do. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
How about Mars? Now, I was reading about Mars, and that there is evidence that there was life on Mars.
That's
what do you think happened to
Newsflash. That's not.
Yeah, that was my.
The earlier, we're starting with rent. We're here on borrowed time. We don't own this planet. Something else does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a metaphor.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't know how that works with you.
All right. So what happened when we were on Mars as humanity, if you will, when we started on Mars? What do you think happened that caused us to either
happened to us? Blew up. One of the moons on Mars isn't real. It's part of Mars. So something happened to Mars too. Water on Mars. There's more water on that smaller planet than there is on Earth. And guess what? It's in liquid form because it boils a lot. It's another phase of water. That means it stays in a semi-liquid state at minus 100 Fahrenheit. Isn't that interesting? Did I
learned about this?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, you were, the big pause.
I'm having some. Yeah. No. It's not that. We're having some trouble with communication, so I'm going to reconnect in just a minute. But when I was in elementary school, I was taught that the sun is this star, and it's ultimately going to expand and consume the Earth. And it's just going to keep expanding, and we're all going to be dead. But don't worry, because that's millions and millions and millions and millions of years away, and so you don't have to worry about it. Do you think that was true, that it's that far away, or is it sooner than that, Rick?
I don't know. I have theories, and I have friends at JPL or retired that have their own opinions. There's a ninth planet just announced. How's that work?
Yeah, let's talk about that. Well, it's been denied. That ninth planet's been denied. Now it's... So, tomorrow, class, hour number 1. Hour number 2. Patrick is going to be with me. And Patrick's our engineer, and he's our engineer today. And he's going to discuss from his perspective a number of things that he disagrees with that I say. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's tomorrow, hour number 2. Patrick, our engineer. And so you're going to hear from his perspective. He's a young man. Things that he disagrees with that, a baby boomer might say on USA Prepares. So that's going to be a first. So I hope you have a chance to join us for that class. And if you'd like to call us, you may call us tomorrow during that. Well, you can call us anytime that we're on the air. And that number is 866-582-9933. And this afternoon at 3 o'clock, I'm going to be a guest of Dr. Bill Deagles. And he's invited me to be on the air with him to talk about preparedness. And if we get to it, I'll tell you my thoughts on LED lighting, what makes sense, how you can do it very inexpensively, how long it lasts, how to do it on 12 volts, and so forth. We'll be talking about generators, power consumption, energy consumption, life expectancy of generators, and so forth. So it's preparedness. That's 3 o'clock in the afternoon with Dr. Bill Deagle here at GCN. Rick, we're talking about Mars and supporting life.
Yeah. I think the moon's not real either. They just found caves on it. I mean, tunnels.
Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting?
So, well, what's really, really frustrating to me, that one of our instructors, a guy named Pat Shannon, wrote a book, and the title is something like that, Everything They Ever Taught Me Was a Lie. And, you think about that. No, it can't be true. Well, the more I learn about what I've learned is I learned a bunch of lies. I mean, like dinosaurs. Dinosaurs walked around. They all died in like one place or several places. They all got together and died right there. And then the compression of all that dinosaur flesh, that's our oil. So we've been pumping billions of barrels of oil out of the ground from all these dinosaurs. Not buying that, originally I did. When I was in 8th grade, I did because that's what I was told. But I don't think that's true. It might be partially true, but I don't think we're getting that much oil out of dinosaurs. I mean, we are using oil like it's
dinosaurs,
free.
Huh? Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah. So, but that's what we were taught, Rick. And we were taught that, you can put your foot in this little machine, and we can look at your bone structure through this X-ray machine, and let's see how it fits on that. Your foot fits in that shoe. And then all the guys who were shoe salesmen at that time died of cancer from all the X-rays that they were exposed to, showing people how the shoes fit.
Their feet fell off. Well, I posted a couple of days ago, Robert Montgomery did a movie in 1948 about the secret country. And it's about birds going to Antarctica. And they made a movie. The Navy made a movie. There it is. There's the Foo Fighters. There's the ship sinking. There's Antarctica with all the da-da-da. Why? And that was in 1948. Why did they choose not to share that with us?
Now, is it available on the internet? How can we watch it?
Well, just go to my YouTube and to my website, docram.com, and it's a couple days back. I think I posted it, what's today, Thursday? Probably Monday. Maybe I posted it on Monday. And it's called Secret Country. It's a video. I post every day. I put a couple things in on my website, and it goes back a zillion years with a search engine. My website is starting to come together, and I now have a second one called Sustainable Lifeboats, and on Facebook. And that's interesting also. What I'm doing is when I rent, there's one post I put last week that gives more than 100 documents, PDF freeze, and 3 of them are the old Foxfire books. You all want those. They're,
I have 3 of the Foxfire books.
What's that?
I have 3 of the Foxfire books.
Well, that's how many they made. I mean, but they're there, but you can get them as downloads. And Mother Earth, some of the other stuff, back then when that was all happening, they interviewed me, and I was runner-up. I would have been editor of Mother Earth News, and they chose that woman. And I moved on to do other things, but that Mother Earth News back then was very cool. I found a book I wrote. Oh, man, let me read you this title. This was one of my first things I did when I was in. It's called Healing Yourself, and it's a little tiny pamphlet. I'm going to print it up. It's fourth glorious revised edition, the one I have, 1974, and it's a manual on urban guerrilla warfare. It's for the country doctor community clinic. It's about women and how to use herbs correctly, not pennyroyal, da-da-da-da-da. That, I'm finding old books I've written that I didn't even think about, and there they are, and they're cool. That urban, by the way, is H-E-R-B, urban guerrilla warfare. And I was even crazy back then, and I love writing. So, watch what happens in the next year. You know, they think I've burned out. I haven't even begun. Grace Lauren and Julie went down and went through 18 file cabinets, 4 drawers each. And guess what they found? It's very exciting. And watch what happens next. I can't believe it. I collected everything and knew I was going to use it. I don't know how. As I left notes. Talking to my sister. I left notes. I can't believe it. And I'm picking it up. I have right in front of me right now, I'm looking at this. There's 6 volumes, called Zoom, and it's called 2 Pounds. And it's a French magazine on photography. And wait till you see the stuff that's in this thing. It's from 1978. I'm excited because I'm finding treasures beyond measure. And you think my download library that I put together for AOL is Russ Rengie is my partner on the audiobooks, and we're going to put a download library the size of which is better than probably the Library of Congress. And we're going to, in specific areas of metaphysics, agriculture, and New Age physics. And we're going to give you, I've got right here, what is it? Teachings of Melchizedek, Volume 1. Let's see, what else? I've just been finding treasures everywhere. Wonderful.
You know, you mentioned the 1970s, and what comes to my, as you said that, what was coming to my mind is that was a time when I was doing some, I think, really fun things, really innovative things. Something happened to me in the mid-70s, and well, let me just give you an example without being... I learned about blue boxes, red boxes, black boxes.
That was Captain Crunch. That was Captain Crunch, Michael James, Reconnaissance out of Tacoma. He came into my bookstore in the early years as a good friend of mine. They busted him for making LSD under the Duwamish River. He's currently in Leavenworth, living in a very nice cell working for the feds.
Yeah,
you can read about him in a book called Secret and Suppressed by Feral Press. And there, Tom Lytle, good friend of mine, wrote that article on Michael James Reconnaissance. Ding, ding, ding,
yeah.
And ding, ding, ding.
And what I'm saying, Rick, is those were the days when I was very interested in learning about how the communications network worked globally, how we would make a telephone call to England, for example. What, specifically, what were the codes that were used to place a telephone call? How did the telephone company meter the telephone calls? How did they literally price, track, monitor, record, and bill customers who made telephone calls?
Cable in the ocean? Yeah,
that's one of the things.
All of that.
Yeah, and satellite as well.
That's later. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I mean is there was a decision that could be made whether that call would be made via satellite or via one of the two undersea cables, between the United States and Europe. There were only, at the moment, back then, 2 times 12 trunks that could be used for placing telephone calls. And what I'm saying is, if you wanted to call someone in London, for example, from the United States, you'd have to contact the international operator, say, I'd like to call this person, this number, and they'd say, okay, when a line becomes available, we'll connect with you and call you back. And, you just couldn't make that call just because you felt like it, because we didn't have the capacity back then. So I was really interested in learning about those things, and I'm wondering what it was during the mid-1970s that happened that maybe piqued my interest. Was there something cosmically going on, or was it just that's when I felt interested? Because I think you were interested in a lot of things at that same time, and we didn't know each other.
Well, yeah, there was Mad Magazine. We got to bring her in, and Bernard Shercliffe. He was editor. I took a course from him on screenwriting. Mm-hmm. Rogue Community College. Can you believe that?
Well, I've
Mad Magazine.
Of course, Mad Magazine circulated around, the college, and some of my friends read it, and, Alfred E. Newman, and, I remember seeing that. But
Mewery?
Yeah, what Mewery, yeah. But at the same time, I didn't spend very much time reading Mad Magazine. But I was interested in some of the things that, some of the activists were doing. Right? Abby Hoffman.
Yeah, there it is, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was it about
in this book? There it is. That, by the way, that Preparedness book is also on that.
Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us, Rick Miller, and if you'd like to go to his website, richardalanmiller.com, and that's where you can find some of his books and you can buy them. Hey, Rick, you've got metaphysics. Would you share with us, we've done this before, but please share with us again, metaphysics and what it means.
You're trying to help me get sales. Well, I taught courses at PC Link when it became AOL, and that was with the Interactive Educational Service, IES, out of Humboldt State University, and there was online teaching 1990 to 2001. During that period, I offered 15 different 9-week courses at AOL that led to their download library. This was to draw people in and begin the concept of social networking. I was teaching online. It's a long time ago. And what we did is we turned those into audiobooks. They're more than audiobooks because each disc also has a rare book download library of the specific books I used when I taught the course. If I were going to do on shamanism, I would be using Mircea I would be using Laughlin, D'Aquili, and McManus. These were high-end, graduate-level courses. And yesterday, when I was going through some boxes, I found the actual theses that individuals wrote to get a passing grade as a graduate course that was accredited. And John Mack at Harvard took my third course in 1992, Metaphysics 3, and that's when he began his alien abduction studies at Harvard. And I found another file on the Bramwells, Charles Bramwell and his wife. That was a very famous abduction case in Homestead, Florida. I was physically there when she was abducted, doing studies with John Mack on that. And wait till you see that stuff. It's really interesting. It is a foundation for what I'm about to come out with in a 12-book magic series on pathworking, how to get there from here.
Okay, so instead of watching the blue screen television, you can actually learn about metaphysics and expand.
Beyond. In other words, I would one class went beyond astrology and what it was and what it was not. Mm-hmm. I did social anthropology, now known as cybernetic anthropology, and one class course was on the way you lay a city out. That changed the group consciousness and the music, and making Chicago uniquely different than Washington, D.C. and the cellar. Mm-hmm. And these are the new directions of our concepts, looking at broader scales on memes and the function of that. And that's where they all started. I started teaching that in the early 90s. And then, now will you see what my ex-wife and I wrote on magic. Pathworking, how to make changes in yourself and changes in the universe as a result.
Rick, what does this cost?
They're $15 a book. If you buy them in sets of 3, they're $40 for the 3, and I'm about to come out with the next set, Russell. I'm cleaning them up now. Russell's already done the translation from texting, what it was in. It was texting back then. See, we didn't even have audio. What we did was texting. And it was interesting. You wrote back and forth, and you responded back and forth as texting. This is a long time ago. I used the well as my outsource from Grand Pass, Oregon. It's interesting. I'm going to do this again this next quarter. I'm going to be offering a series of online courses at Road Community College that Sterling University is involved with now in Vermont. It's an agroforestry 4-year program, hands-on, and they accepted doing my PDFs. They're going to literally, between my 360 different books in agriculture on how to grow specific crops, clean them up, and make them ready for market. If you want to see what some of them look like now, herbfarminfo.com. It's Conrad.
Herbfarminfo.com. Rick,
Yeah,
we're out of time.